Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Morris from GTS Distribution. I am the Business Development Manager for Board Games, and I'm here with a webinar. This time, I'm joined by Clay Ross, who is one of our, actually the owner of Capstone Games and one of our partners. So Capstone has a little bit of noise in the background. If you are not on mute, if you could go on mute, that would be great. There you go. Okay, awesome. So Capstone Games, you may or may not have heard of them before in the past, but they have some tremendously awesome, like traditionalist hobby games. And we're going to talk about a lot of them today, actually. We're going to actually talk about 3 new releases and 1, I guess, reprint or restock that's happening right now. We're going to talk about The Climbers, which is a game that's been out for several years. It's an older game that Capstone recently reprinted and did so beautifully. It's a great dexterity game. That is available for pre-order right now. It's going to be coming back into stock very shortly. We're also going to be talking about 3 new games coming out. One of them has been extremely very popular over the last couple of weeks in terms of the release press and things like that coming out, which is Pipeline. You've probably seen a lot of that on BGG and a lot of things from Origins Game Fair and that. I'm sure Clay will talk about that. We're also going to talk about Irish Gauge, which, as I mentioned before we went live here, is one of my personal top 10 most interested games of the year right now because it looks very awesome in terms of what it all packs into the box. And then we're also going to talk about a new game that was recently announced and orders are due this week on, which is called Watergate, which is a sci-fi exploration. No, I'm kidding. It's all about Watergate stuff. It's really cool. So with that, I want to remind everybody, for joining us here today, if any of the retailers pre-order any of these games between now and next Tuesday, the 16th, you'll actually be able to get 52% off MSRP. So it's a great opportunity and a great time to dive in. And if you haven't had Capstone Games in your store before, it's a great opportunity to start with them. If you have, it's a great opportunity to just expand on that with them, which is awesome. So as I remind everybody, we like to keep this very discussive. So any questions you have, let us know. As I say, everything is on the table. So if you have a question, you can open up the chat window and you'll have the option to either send a message to all panelists, which are myself and Clay and Jessica, our sales director, who's on as well, or you can send it to all panelists and attendees, which will go to everyone so everyone can see it, which is awesome. So with that, I will be quiet and I will introduce Clay Ross, who is the owner of Capstone Games. So Clay, thank you very much for joining us. The floor is yours, my friend, and you can present away.
Excellent. Thanks for the introduction, Scott. And thank you, retailers, for just taking time out of your busy day to check out what we're going to show and the latest offerings that we have. My name is Clay Ross, and I own Capstone Games. I'll start with just a quick let me make sure that this thing works. Uh-oh. I just want to make sure this thing, there we go.
Yep, you're good to go.
Is it working fine on your guys' end?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so like I said, I'm going to just touch base. We're relatively new in the grand scheme of the industry, and I want to kind of give you some background on what we're all about, and then we're going to jump into the couple games that we've got to show you today. So in 2015, I started Capstone. I'm from Ohio, and with a single mission, and that's to get people back to the table, socializing face-to-face through high-quality games that feature rich and evolving gameplay. I tend to like games that are a little bit more involved and have a lot deeper strategy. And that's kind of where you're going to see where these games that we publish come into play. We have some key features here. We have a strong customer focus. We're known for medium to heavy strategy games, high quality components. We believe that creates tangible value for our customers. Just the better the component quality, the more validated the customer is in their purchase. And we also have a strong brand image. A lot of our customers rely on us for a consistent class of product that we continually pump out each and every time we go to print. But that's kind of like the background of what we're doing. And then I'm going to jump in here to talk about some of the games. And I'm sure you've heard of it. Pipeline has been insanely hot lately. We're very fortunate with that. We released a couple copies at Origins, and it's coming in full retail release July 31st at the end of this month. This is a 2 to 4 player game playing in about 30 minutes per player. So you can knock out this heavy, complex game, 2-player version, and exactly an hour. So it's got a nice offering in regards to that. But what it is it's an economic euro with a tile placement and route building combination. So what we've done is take the math part of your brain, and then you got the spatial awareness, artistic, creativity side, and kind of merged those two mechanics together, and it creates a nice, unique puzzle. I tend to be really good at the math side, but not so much at the spatial element side. And so when you merge those two elements together, it just creates different types of gaming experiences for everybody. So I think that was one of the major reasons why we've seen this game so popular, especially at Origins a couple weeks ago. But essentially what you're doing in this game is you're going to craft your own network of pipelines to refine 3 different types of oil. You're going to start a business and create these pipelines through these tiles, and your goal is to refine it. The higher the grade of oil, the more value, the more money you're going to get when you sell it or fulfill a contract or complete an order or do anything with it. At the end of the game, whoever has the most money in their company is going to win the game. We've also got a couple side notes with unique upgrades and in-game scoring. Variability is insane in this game. And the final thing is it's colorblind friendly. So the colors of the workers and the mix of the different colors of oil, we've tested it to make sure that it does meet the colorblind standards. So we haven't had any issues with that. But I've got it behind me. I'm going to just move my camera. I haven't done this before, so we'll see how well this goes. I have a steady cam, but I'm not going to jump into all the mechanics here, but this is the presence. It has a wonderful table presence. You can see here, I got a little player area set up here.
If you can turn off the presentation, then it'll flip back to your webcam so that the retailers can see it, the kind of the full screen and everything.
Yeah. Okay, I see now. There it is.
Perfect. Also, Steve Sanchez says, great job on the pipeline box art.
Hey, that's Ian O'Toole. That guy is amazing. It has a really nice presentation for sure. Try not to make anybody sick here. I don't have a steady cam or anything, but this is just showing the table presence. I've got the whole game set up. And on the left here, you can see a player board with their own network of pipes that they're starting to build. In the middle of the game board over there, that represents the government and how inefficient it's become. And over the course of 3 game years, it's going to go out of business. And that's where you come into play, where you're going to be purchasing the government's tiles to build your own more efficient network, or at least, attempt to do so. And then some upgrade cards and whatnot. But essentially, you've got your own business that you're running, and it simulates that really well. It's a very tight economic game, again, with that puzzle spatial element deal going on. I'm going to share some more pictures. I've got some in-game.
And I just want to chime in and add, while Clay is being very modest about it, this was actually, Pipeline was the #1 game on BGG from Origins. So if you're familiar, if you go to the Origins and Gen Con, BGG does a rating system where attendees get a code and they can log into BGG and rank games and give games thumbs up. And Pipeline was the #1 game, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you can see some of the pictures. It is, we've heard a couple people say it's intimidating, but at the end of the day, once you learn the rules, which I'm not kidding you, are 4 pages of actual rules to read. The other pages are your components, how to set it up, the appendix for cards and what they do. But the actual gameplay rules are 4 pages. And a lot of people are saying that this is one of those unique games that is so, it's complex in the way it plays, but to explain how to play it is super easy. And I think that's got a lot going for it as well. And here, the 2 pictures on the right of this slide, you can see kind of like these are end game pictures of people that have taken, done a really good job of making an efficient pipeline network where, again, your goal is to make the same route, the longest route of each color as they interweave together. So you've got that's the spatial element that is really interesting that I am absolutely terrible at, but it's definitely gained a lot of attention through that. And like Scott mentioned, yes, at Origins, it was the #1 game consistently throughout the show. They vote every day. These are people that are just playing. These are just regular customers going to Origins and voting on games that they liked. And we noticed that it started popping up on the #1 list, and was very humbled by that. So yeah, lots more coming with pipeline. It's still in there for the Gen Con. I don't know if you guys are following the Board Game Geek Gen Con anticipation list, but it's right up there again. It's not a one-time hotness kind of game. This is definitely going to be a solid title throughout the rest of this year and probably into the future. So yeah, this is pipeline, and again, it's coming out on July 31st. And before I jump to the next game, I just want to stop and see if there's any questions that I can help answer, if there are any questions at all.
Yeah, if there are any questions, just as a reminder, it's very easy to ask. You can just open up the chat window. If you hover over your Zoom video link, there's a little chat bubble at the bottom. You can click on that, type anything in there. It'll either come to us, meaning Clay and myself, if you send it to the panelists, or to everyone if you send it to all the panelists and attendees. But definitely, any questions, let us know. I know there was a comment earlier about the art. Ian O'Toole is pretty amazing. So, and there's some more Ian O'Toole coming today too. And
which I will, before I talk about this, Ian is a special guy. This is the first game. Pipeline was the first game we've taken, Capstone, we've taken from prototype to actual production value, like a mass market release. Typically what we would do is source games through Europe or Singapore, a couple designers out of there that we find and we partner together. But this was an actual game that we developed in-house and brought it to the market. And it just kind of shows the type of game that we really value. And it's definitely doing very well in the market. But Ian just made the game so much easier to look at than what the prototype. I'm telling you, it looks very similar in the shapes of everything. But man, you look at the prototype and your brain just melts. But man, with Ian's work, he just does a really good job at kind of taking that out of there.
Roland had a question. Will there be a demo game that we can get? So yes, so actually Capstone is part of our demo program. If you're unfamiliar with the GTS demo program, it's actually really easy. We basically offer retailers that are brick and mortar only the option to buy one base game per calendar year per storefront at 25% of MSRP. So it's only base games, no expansions or anything like that. But I think 90% of everything we're looking at with Capstone is actually base games. There's a lot already in the base games and not a lot of expansions there. So yes, if you do have any questions, you can reach out to your GTS sales rep. They can set all that up with you and help you get a demo as well.
All right, let's jump over to the next title. And let me share this page real quick. So you probably saw it in the background, but yes, this is Irish Gauge. This is one I'm also very excited about. We were hoping that this would be a Gen Con release, but it is actually getting on a boat from China in a week or two. So we'll have this at the end of August in our warehouse and shipping out to distribution at that time. So we're looking at a September 11th release date for Irish Gauge. And what this game is, if you guys are all familiar with Winsome Games, they're very, very small print runs, like 100 to 150 copies each year. Some of them gain really high value and are phenomenal designs. Games like Transamerica, Chicago Express, Paris Connection. There's a couple others that I can't think of right now, but those originated as Winsome Games as an original thing, and the publisher would then pick it up and reskin it and everything. So what we're doing is we're taking this and with the goal of kind of lowering that barrier to train games. A lot of customers or gamers might see a hex map and train theme and just immediately run away because they think it's going to be some complex monstrosity. Whereas these games are very small on the rules, and it takes at most 60 minutes to play. So, and I'm going to show you what the rule book looks like in a sec, but what you're doing with Irish Gauge is, and you're building railway track using 5 different companies out there across Ireland. and you want to diversify your investment portfolio of these railroad companies as you're interacting with the other players. Again, this is another game where cash is king, so whoever has the most money at the end of the game will win. There's a lot of player interaction in this, so if you like the games where you're involved with the other players and want to know what's going on, and their decisions will definitely affect your decisions. The game has 1 page of rules. I'm not kidding you. It is literally a sheet of paper for the rules, but it has that depth that we always look for in the games that we publish. And so, like, wrapping this all into one kind of product, this is going to be a new thing we're doing. And we're calling it the Iron Rail series. This is the very first title of that series. And again, Ian O'Toole was very excited about what we're doing with this whole theme. And he really had a great vision for the type of box and how the art presentation should look. He really wants, just like us, more people involved in this type of game. So he's done a really good job at this, and will continue to do future titles in this Iron Rail series for us. So with that said, I'm going to show you just a couple things about the game.
As you're picking up your camera, I'll make a comment on one of the questions just so everybody knows it. Derek had asked, in general, can demo copies be pre-ordered, or do we need to wait until the games are released to ask for a demo copy? Demo copies can be pre-ordered. It's just a simple tactical thing that our sales reps can do on the sales orders, where they'll have a line item that says Irish Gauge ×6, and then Irish Gauge ×1 at the demo pricing. So that's not a problem. So yes, if you do want to pre-order games and pre-order a demo game with it, you can just contact your sales rep, let them know, and they'll be able to set that up for y'all. Okay,
so this is a really rough printing copy from the factory. There's not going to be this glare, which is up here. Just want to assure you that quality is a very important factor to us. But again, with Irish Gauge, very simple with components. MSRP is very low at $39.99. I mentioned the rules. This is the rule. This page is the rules for the game. So you can literally break this game open, read the rules, and begin playing. And it's going to provide a nice, deep experience that lasts about 60 minutes. But again, you're building railway track across the country of Ireland, investing in the different companies out there. There's a lot of more details going on with the game, but every turn you do one action, and you have that decision of, like, I want to do a bunch of things, but I'm only allowed to do one of them. And it's just a really nice experience, especially with the interaction with the other players. And again, Ian O'Toole doing a fantastic job with the box. So very high hopes for this game. It's kind of funny. When we were at Origins, we had a small room outside of the exhibit hall with this copy in that room. And on Saturday at the show, and we weren't advertising, hey, go play Irish Gauge. You know, if people wanted to come check it out, they could. We would just say, hey, go to our small room outside of the exhibit hall. But on Saturday, I was checking the Board Game Geek top, where Pipeline was #1. Number 10 was Irish Gauge. And I saw that, had to take a picture of it because we weren't even advertising it, but somehow people had found out about, a bunch of people apparently had found out about it and started voting it up in the system. So it got to number 10 on Saturday. I thought that was pretty insane for a game that didn't even release. But so that's Irish Gauge. Again, this is a new series we're doing. The price point will be the same for every game in the future, $39.99. This one plays 3 to 5 players in about an hour. So,
I think that's one of the most unique things about the game. Having been in the hobby for so long, there are just a multitude of train games, right? There's you of all people probably know that better than anyone, Clay. There's so many train games that are out there, but they're usually really in depth, like 2, 3, sometimes 4-hour, events more than just games. And to separate them amongst each other as to, which is the one that your game group should play can kind of be really daunting sometimes. I had a friend of mine actually compare it to buying a bottle of wine. He goes, you walk into a retail store and you see all these different bottles of wine. You have no idea what's good. You have no idea what your group will like. He goes, the same thing with all these train games. There's like 300 of them, and I have no idea how to differentiate them between them. But being able to tell players that, if you're new to the entire genre, you can get into it in under an hour and 4 pages of rules is just amazing. but then to actually see the complexity of the game and the decisions that you have to make in the game, it's not sacrificing any of that, right? There's still as much strategy, there's still as much player interaction, there's just really cool stuff happening in it. So to me, that's the most unique thing, is that Irish Gauge is unique and it kind of stands apart from everything else that's in that genre, which is really cool.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head there, Scott. I mean, there's a ton of train games out there. We want to cater to the really good ones that we can reprint and bring a nice presentation to it that's not intimidating like you see with all the other train games out there. They're a lot of fun. They have high player interaction, and that's really what we're trying to do, is break that barrier down so that more people get exposed, or even just try the game. Because, like, not every game's for everybody, but at least give it a shot.
Sure. Yeah, it's awesome.
So, okay, 2 more. And the next one we're going to talk about is The Climbers. And Scott did mention that we are reprinting this. This is our 3rd printing, in fact. We released this game late 2017. And so we're on our 3rd printing. We're doing about 1 printing per year at this point, which is pretty solid numbers. This is our best-selling title, The Climbers. And this debuted with our line of what we call it the Simply Complex line. And this is our super accessible line of games where you could have children. My son, who's 5, plays this game and absolutely loves it because of the chunky blocks. And you can have people that are outside of the hobby that don't really know the hobby enthusiast style games, and they can play just because the rules are so low on overhead. And the gaming experience, again, is another deep gaming experience. But what you're trying to do with this is get to the highest level of this mountain of blocks. The catch is you can only touch the surface that matches your color. And you are allowed on your turn to take 1 block and rotate it to your side, or whatever side you want to do, just to help you move higher. You got a couple tools at your disposal to help you climb higher, but they're one-time use. So once you use it, it's out of the game. But it's a beautiful game. Every time we demo this at a show, we just get a crowd of people around wondering, what is this game? And that's where I think it could really shine with you retailers, just having it on a table, and it's just an immediate attention draw. You want to know what this is. Like, what are these colorful blocks? What can I do? And just feeling the heft of them is really nice. But it's been picked up by a couple major news outlets, like The Guardian did a nice review on it. There's a ton of great reviews from Board Game Geek on it as well. We did get an Origins Award nomination this year for it, which is really cool. That was our first ever awards nomination. Yeah, that's The Climbers. Again, it's coming back in stock. We were out of stock for about a month or 2, and it'll be available at the end of this month. One thing I've done is created a demo script. This is very similar to Irish Gauge with that rule book, where you have 1 page is set up, on the back side is actually how you play. I've gone ahead and done that, and you can see this bit.ly link at the bottom of this presentation. You can go there and download the PDF, print it off, put it next to the copy in your store, and people can walk by, pick it up, and play in 2 minutes and have a great time. So that's The Climbers. Do we have any questions on that one? It's been out there for a while. I think a lot of people are pretty knowledgeable of the product. Hopefully it's done well at retail stores out there.
Yep, there was a quick question. Since it's a pause moment, it's perfect time. Steve wanted to confirm the MSRP of Pipeline.
It is $69.99.
There you go.
Okay, so, and then the final game that I want to talk about is our upcoming title that we're going to release at Gen Con. It'll be in retail August 14th. I forgot to put that date on there, but the release is August 14th. We need to get those orders in ASAP so we can ship these out to distribution, so you can have it in time for that release date. Watergate is a 2-player card-driven game about the most notorious political scandal in U.S. history, Watergate. Actually, this subject matter was a little bit before my time, but I just find it so captivating. The rule book comes with a full history of Watergate, So you can look up G. Gordon Liddy, Bob Bernstein, or Carl Bernstein, Bob Woodward, all the players in the game at that time. You're going to play either as the journalist, and you're trying to link two informants to the president, and you're doing that through card play. And then you have the Nixon side, where you are trying to outlast your presidential term, so you don't get impeached, and you need to do that through gaining momentum markers. And this game is a beautiful tug of war system, where the Nixon player will have their own set of cards, and the journalist will have their own set of cards. We've been hearing that there's a lot of similarities between Twilight Struggle and 13 Days. And I'm a fan of Twilight Struggle, and it definitely does have that feel to it, but it's a 30 to 45 minute game. So you can get a lot more plays out of it. What's really cool is, if you're familiar with the Twilight Struggle system, you can use the card that you play for points to kind of influence different markers on the momentum track, or you can play it for the event. And quite often when you play a card for an event, it's removed from the game. So you lose that card completely. And it's the tense decision of, is this the right time to play the event at this current instance? Or do I hold on to this card for a little bit later on, maybe play it next time for the event? So if you're looking for like a nice political tug of war game, this is a phenomenal experience. Rodney Smith from Watch It Played just uploaded a video on how to play the game. Man vs. Meeple, another media outlet, is going to do a live stream of Watergate. They actually did a review and gave it their Man vs. Meeple approved logo. So it's definitely a game that we're probably going to sell out of within the next couple of weeks. So please make sure, if you want a copy of the game, to get your orders in as soon as possible. And this one is $34.95. So that is Watergate, and that will wrap up the products I wanted to show you all. And I'm happy to answer any questions or anything at all in regards to games or any other upcoming titles we have and whatnot.
One of the things I want to point out for the retailers, we kind of have a consistent theme across a lot of our webinars, which is brands first, games second. Focus on brands that are longstanding, people that are traditional, that are consistent, and that deliver good quality all the time, right? And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Capstone on here, is that we have a good amount of retailers that do very well with Capstone Games. We also have a good amount of retailers that haven't seen them before, just haven't had a chance or an opportunity to see their games up close. I actually personally own, I think, almost every game that Capstone has actually ever made. And they're beautiful. They make really good quality. They do really good workmanship on the products themselves. But then on top of things, to take games that, in my mind, can, like Clay mentioned a couple of times, with being kind of daunting at first, or seeing something and you may think, oh, this is too complex, but they make it not complex. And that's probably the most interesting thing to me, because when you're talking about those barriers to entry, and you're talking about, as a retailer, only having maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds, maybe even shorter, to entice somebody to purchase a game. If somebody picks up Pipeline in your store and you say, I don't know if you know, but that was the #1 voted game at Origins Game Fair this year. That should be quite a bit of a statement to turn around and get people to start looking at the back of that box and deciding if they want to buy it or not. You look at things like Watergate and you say, it's funny to hear you say it was before my time, because I'm 46, and while it was a little bit before my time, it's something that I think to myself, wow, there may be people who are in the gaming industry who have no idea what Watergate ever was, right? But being able to say that's like a Twilight Struggle in 30 minutes is amazing. So they're games that are not only surprisingly approachable from a playability standpoint and replayable standpoint, but they're games that are very easy to, with 1 line or 2 line, turn around and have someone who picks them up in your store be able to, convince them to buy it immediately on the spot, which is really good. So I definitely hope it's been very good information for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the offerings we have this year. Pipeline was the first true release we had this year, and it's only gonna, I mean, it's gonna be a banner year for us this year. Just the quality of releases we have and the attention we've garnered in the market is, I think you're going to definitely see a lot more Capstone in the future.
That's awesome. That's great. It doesn't look like there's any additional questions that have come in, but just in case anyone does think of anything or have any additional questions, Clay, what's the best way for someone to reach out to Capstone directly if they have questions for you?
You can reach out to us. We have a customer service email, info@capstone-games.com. If you really want to get a hold of me, just go to clay@capstone-games.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook. We're primarily active on Twitter at Capstone_Games. And I think Capstone Games, all one word, for Facebook. But yeah, we'll be posting new releases, teaser unboxings, things like that, just to get a lot of anticipation built up for our games and everything. So.
Awesome. Excellent. I just put those email addresses in the chat. We'll make sure that, as most people know, we record these and place them on the YouTube later, so you can always go back and check out information that you may have missed or want to double check on and everything. But we'll make sure to put those emails in the video information as well, so people can get a hold of you too. So perfect. Well, retailers, thank you so much. Again, I know it's been kind of a crazy last couple of days between the holiday and 2 webinars and so many things going on, but really do appreciate everybody taking the time to register and come here and sit down, meet Clay, learn about him, learn about his company and everything he's doing with these awesome games. Clay, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for helping us, in terms of, putting together the pricing and everything for the retailers here. As a reminder, if you're a retailer from GTS and you want to pre-order any of these games we've talked about, be it Pipeline, Irish Gauge, Watergate, or the restock of Climbers, you can get them for 52% off between now and next Tuesday. So great opportunity to get more margin, which is always a positive thing and a good thing. So, but with that, I will let everybody go. I hope you have a wonderful day. Have a great time in your stores, and we will see you next time.